Hey everyone, now today I'm going to talk about a subject that I honestly never wanted to share. I never wanted to talk about it. It's my personal, private shit that's, it's just something I never wanted to talk about, but I feel like it's necessary and I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about. And people are, they're still continuously making accusations and coming up with, their own thoughts of why, Sarah and I split up. I just wanted to move on with my life. I didn't want to talk about it. Looking back, it's very, very obvious what the situation was. And it's embarrassing for me to admit it, to realize it, and people, family, friends, they all, Rich, you've known this girl for a couple months and you're gonna marry her? Like, what are you thinking, And people, said, hey Rich, do you think this is a possibility? Did you ever? And I'm like, I took offense to it. And what they were talking about is, she's just marrying you for a green card. Like, don't you see that shit? Like, don't you realize that, to get married in a couple months to someone you barely know, who's not a US citizen and has been here trying to get a green card, it's looking back, it's very obvious what the situation was, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing as fuck for me to admit what the situation was. And I feel stupid. And, once people planted that seed in my head in the beginning, I did, think, is this, and I would just right away, I didn't want to admit it. I'm like, no, she's, she loves me. I love her. It's a great relationship, and she was 26 years old, and I'm 45, and it was so obvious. I can't even believe that I got married after 3 months. And the first situation was I caught her stealing, and she was putting money into other accounts that, were linked to her family in Iceland. Her mom, I don't know who, just other accounts. And, I found this out, and like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was giving so much and spending so much money and giving everything I had and, changing my entire life, for this person, and then find out they're stealing from me. I was out of my mind. I couldn't understand it. It was just unbelievable. And, soon after that, I overheard a conversation of her and her mom talking on the phone. And, they talked a lot, but she would never talk in front of me. And if they did talk in front of me, they talked in, Icelandic, and I didn't understand what they were saying. And that always kind of, it kind of bothered me. And I kind of thought, like, why is she always talking in Icelandic when she's in front of me with her mom? It didn't really make sense. But again, I was a fucking idiot, I guess. And so, I overheard a conversation that she was having with her mom, and that's when I found out 100% that she was with me for a green card, and that was it. Listening to that conversation, I couldn't even explain the feeling I felt. Like, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I just was devastated, and I had to face the truth at that point. It was like, fuck, like, it's right here in front of my fucking eyes, So, I definitely, ended the situation, and confronted her and said, hey, I heard the conversation with your mom, and you're with me for a green card, like you're just after, that's all this is, everything we've done. I mean, the marriage, it's, I moved you down here, I got this huge house. I mean, it was just, I spent so much money and just, completely changed my life for this person, and, it was all for nothing. And I was just devastated, and, I just wanted her out, leave, I just can't even look at you. And so she, finally agreed to leave, and it was a process, it was uncomfortable. We were in the house for a little while together until she finally, left, and it was very uncomfortable. And, it was hard for me to even look at her, because I was just, hurt. I just wanted to just, in this situation and try to move on with my life, and the hardest part, I think, was, me having to tell people, because these people, they told me from the beginning, they said, and so now I have to listen to, my close friends and family say, Rich, I told you, what were you thinking? And I'm just like, oh, I don't need to hear this shit. Look, I made a mistake, people do dumb shit, and everyone fucks up, and, fuck, give me a break, I appreciate you tried to help me, you tried to, and I didn't want to believe it. I guess that's what the truth was, is I was having a great time, she's an incredibly beautiful girl, and, for me, it was a wonderful situation, and I wanted to believe it, and, it wasn't what it was, what I thought it was, and I had good intentions, and I hate to say it, but I planned on spending the rest of my life with her. That was what we talked about, and that was what our plan was. And just finding that out was just, and I think I've learned a lot from this situation, so it will help me moving forward in life, that's for sure. I'm not much of a partier, I'm not someone that ever really partied. I've been a bodybuilder, take steroids, you guys know that. When it comes to, muscles and being big, I've taken every drug there is, but as far as recreational drugs, it's not something I've ever really been into. And, it's something that, she was into. And, we talked about it, and I mean, guys, like, I'm with this 26-year-old beautiful girl, and I'm down, hey, let's do this. All right, let's do it, and it wasn't a good situation, I mean, we partied a lot, and, it wasn't a lifestyle that I was used to or I'd ever really, done. For me, it was all new, but I have to admit that I was having a incredible time, I was having fun, and I learned a lot, let's put it that way. So I'm happy to say that I'm no longer married. I got the divorce annulled, and it is final. And the reasons was, marrying under false pretenses. That's the reason for the annulment. And what an annulment is, for people who don't know, is it's basically the marriage never existed. So it's not a divorce. It's basically, it never existed, and it's over. Legally, we're not married any longer. So, there's no real reason for her to have my last name, because, we're legally not together anymore. We're not married. But, that's her choice. I'm not saying that she has to get rid of my name. It's up to her. I mean, I would assume that she wouldn't want my last name. It would be my my assumption, but you know, it's up to her. You know, I'm sure she's pretty upset about the situation because, you know, she had a great plan, you know, an incredible plan. You know, I don't really know what her plan was, but I know 100% that it was using me to get a green card. You know, that's no doubt about it. I don't know, you know, how far, you know, this charade was going to go on. You know, I mean, you know, if I hadn't caught her stealing and I hadn't, you know, heard that conversation, this shit could have went on for 10 years, you know, and she could have got alimony from me and, you know, be taken care of for the rest of her life. You know, I'm not saying that was the plan. I don't know what the plan was. All I know is that, you know, she was, you know, her main concern was getting a green card. And, you know, that's not happening, at least not through me. And, you know, we were living a incredible lifestyle, you know, and I did so much for her, spent so much money, and, you know, that big house was for us, you know. I mean, we were in a very, when she moved in with me, you know, I was in a 5,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, 5-bath house, and she didn't want to continue living there because she didn't want to be somewhere where I lived with somebody else. And, you know, I, you know, was in a relationship before, you know, I met her, and I lived with that person in that huge house, and she didn't want to be in that house if I had been there with someone else. So, like an idiot, I have to say, looking back, I was like, okay, let's move to another house, you know. And so we went to a better house, you know, and that was, you know, all for us and our marriage, and you know, for us to enjoy life to the fullest. And, you know, next thing you know, I'm living in another almost 5,000 square foot house by myself, you know, and that's not fun. You know, being in that big of a house all by yourself is not fun. You know, I hope that maybe the next person she finds, you know, she truly loves and she truly wants to be with and have a relationship with, and, you know, and live happily ever after. You know, I don't wish anything bad to her, because I am a better person now, and I'm much happier now. I'm in a new relationship, and, you know, I moved to Florida, and I'm having the time of my life, you know. So for me, I'm better off now than I was when I met her. So I really can't sit here and complain or say poor me, you know, anymore. But at the time, you know, when I first found out, I have to admit I was completely devastated, and, you know, it was a hard hit.